Market, YMCA Missoula, the Trough, Imagination Brewery, and Parkside Credit Union.
Wow, that's a lot of locations.
Yes, we're very excited.
Yeah, and then this does kind of culminate in a party as well, right?
Yes.
So tell us about that. Everybody loves a party.
Yes, we have a couple of pop-up parties, as we're calling them. One is during the UM Homecoming Parade, which is on October 5th. And then we also have a party happening at the Good Food Store, and that's on Saturday, October 19th from 11 to 2. And we have face painting and some drawings, and it's a great time.
Join Flanagan Motors Mazda in support of the Poverello Center, this month's Community Corner.
The Polaris Factory Authorized Clearance is here. The world's best-selling off-road lineup is priced to move with financing as low as 3.99% and rebates up to $3,500. Live life wide open in a high-performance RZR. Tackle anything from mountains to mud holes on a legendary Sportsman ATV. Get more done with a hard-working Ranger, or take on any task or trail in a versatile Polaris General. The best deals of the year are happening now. See Polaris.com or your Polaris dealer for rebates up to $3,500 and financing as low as 3.99% APR for 36 months during the Polaris Factory Authorized Clearance. Kurtz Polaris at 2904 West Broadway in Missoula and Highway 83 in Sealy. Kurtz Polaris is now showcasing all of the new 2020 Polaris off-road vehicles. To be the first to get a great deal on brand new state-of-the-art Polaris vehicles at Kurtz Polaris. Online at KurtzPolaris.com. Rebates valid in U.S. through 10/31/19 on new 2015 through 2019 vehicles. Financing offer valid on 2015s through 2020s, subject to credit approval. Offers vary by model. See dealer for details. Always wear a helmet, never drink and ride.
Hi, this here is a king, and I'm speaking to you once again for all them good old boys and girls down there at Rockin' Rudy's. You know, every time I come to Motown to pitch that great big old store-wide sale they got going on down there at Rudy's, I'm continually impressed by what a great little town Missoula is. And now, guess what? Your great little town is getting a gigantic new civic center, big enough to hold stars as big as me, the king. I want you all to know I am available for that opening act for the new joint. It'll be my first live concert in over 40 years. I might make enough money so I can quit shilling for Rudy's. Speaking of Rudy's, don't forget their great big old store-wide sale. All their cards, gifts, toys, jewelry, body products, music, and more, all on sale. And don't forget the new Record Heaven location on Ronan Street. Rockin' Rudy's. They're on sale now.
Tell Us Something is calling for you to pitch your true story on the theme of Tipping Point. 8 storytellers will be selected to share their true personal story from memory on the theme of Tipping Point. And each storyteller is paid a stipend for sharing their story. The live event is happening December 10th with a pitch deadline November 18th. Call 406-203-4683 to pitch your story. Members from our deaf community are welcome to pitch a story online at tellussomething.org/tellastory.
ESPN Radio for Western Montana, KKVU HD3 Stevensville, and 102.9 FM on K275BS Missoula. It's 4 o'clock. Welcome to Montana's only statewide sports talk show. Broadcast on 102.9 ESPN Radio for Western Montana and across the state on SWX Television.
I like football!
Now, the 2017 Radio Sports Broadcaster of the Year on the show with back-to-back Montana Broadcaster Association awards for sports coverage and award-winning sports journalism. Here is Ryan Tootell and Coulter Nuanez.
Hello, Montana. Jake Mayer, quarterback from UC Davis, joining us on the show. A roundtable with a couple of future Olympic hopefuls. And we register you again for a kegerator, a keg, and tickets to the Grizzly Eastern Washington football game. All of that and more on a Wednesday afternoon. Great to be with you. It is Tootell and Nuanez on 102.9 ESPN Radio and SWX Montana Television. Hope you are having a wonderful day. Thanks for spending part of it with us on your radios and on your TVs. We're happy to be with you. We are broadcasting live from the Kurtz Polaris studios. Kurtz Polaris at 2904 West Broadway in Missoula, Highway 83 in Sealy, online at Kurtz Polaris.com. If you'd like to find us, well, we're on the World Wide Web as well, 1029ESPN.com. There you can listen live via the stream. It's on the Listen Live tab. It's very intuitive. You go, you find it, you click on it, and voila, you've got us. What could be better? What you got is the station. You got us 4 to 6 Mountain, though. It is there thanks to Opportunity Bank. Your local bank, your opportunity. If you want to call, 329-1899 is the phone number. All guests join us via the Rankish Brothers RV phone line. In the show today, we're going to talk a little bit of everything, some basketball, some baseball. We have, as I mentioned, Jake Mayer, the quarterback of UC Davis, the Aggies hosting the number 4 team in the nation, Weber State, this week. Been a little bit of an up-and-down year for UC Davis, coming off an outstanding 2018 season. So he is the preseason player of the year in the Big Sky Conference, an outstanding player last year, and has continued to be very, very good this year. But the UC Davis quarterback going to join us live here in about 45 minutes. At the top of the next hour, we're going to do, well, first of all, we're going to do Wing It Wednesday today because it is, well, hello, Wednesday. Got some great trivia questions for you today. I'm happy about my trivia questions going around. I'm doing the 3 major sports professionally. Got 1 question from each: baseball, football, basketball. All current event stuff. Okay, so we're going to give you some wings to the Desperado Sports Tavern, perhaps a shirt as well with some trivia, which we do every Wednesday around here. So we'll do that in about a half an hour and at the top of the hour as well. And then we will also hear from a couple of guys who I'm very excited about who are trying to get onto the United States men's bobsled team. From over there in, they're from Montana. They are currently in Lake Placid, New York right now, trying to prepare for this. But Coulter, these 2 guys, former Montana athletes, impressive that they're out there just chasing the dream, right?
Super cool, man. Gage Smith from Whitefish, Alex Mustard from Missoula. Gage played football here at the University of Montana, and Alex Mustard ran track. He's a Missoula Big Sky guy. So I think it's sweet that these guys have figured out a way to continue their athletic careers. Both of them were good athletes at UM. And I think both of them realized that their careers were going to come to abrupt ends when their eligibility was exhausted, as it does for almost every athlete who's even lucky enough to play in college. And these guys have figured out a way to continue to fuel that competitive fire in a pretty unique way. So yeah. I think this is it's a cool story because not only are these guys doing it, but they're also doing it in an unorthodox sport that a lot of people aren't really sure what the entry point is, or how do you even get involved in this, or who would ever be crazy enough to actually do this.
Right.
And so this is it's a good interview, and it's fun to touch base with those guys and just hear the stories of what it's like living the Olympian life.
Right. So there you go. That is the show today. It's brought to us by MissoulaGutterCleaning.com. MissoulaGutterCleaning.com, your most insured, most fun gutter cleaning company. Coulter, we wanted to start today with just some broad things to get to. And I wanted to talk to you, College Game Day this week, ESPN College Game Day, the national TV show, is in Brookings, South Dakota for the North Dakota State, South Dakota State game. Number 1 versus number 3 in the nation there in Brookings. So I'm looking for that. So I want to talk a little bit about that. I want to talk about the FCS Speculators podcast, which a new episode will be out later on this evening or perhaps tomorrow morning. We'll see what we're able to get that turned around. But the first thing I got to ask you, did you know that there was such a thing as a snapping turtle alligator?
What?
Yes.
What are you talking about?
It's a snapping turtle alligator.
But why? What is the context of this?
There isn't one. I guess it's
Where
this.
did you find this? How?
Oh, well, on the internet, just where everything is.
So you're
located.
just like, I wonder if there's a snapping turtle alligator.
No, I saw it. There was one that was taken from a resident in Tucson. I hope it's not my cousin. I have a cousin in Tucson. Wouldn't be surprising if he was housing snapping turtle alligators. But when I saw this, I said, is that real? Is that like a thing? I mean, I've heard of the snapping turtle. I've heard of the alligator. I never heard of a snapping turtle alligator. And I don't know if this is one of the, what are they, ligers, right? When they cross the lion and the tiger and you got a liger.
Napoleon.
That's what yeah. Okay, good. But isn't that what a mule is? Something like that, or a donkey? What is a horse and a donkey's a mule, or vice?
A horse and a donkey is a mule.
Okay, well, in any case, that's what I'm talking. I don't know if that's that or if this is its own separate thing. But this is stunning to me because I guess the thing is like this. Like, I understand there's what is it, 1 billion species of animals on Earth, or some crazy thing. And there's plenty of species that I never heard of, that I've never seen or whatever. But at the larger levels, when we're not talking about in the insect world or the amoebas or the underwater, I'm not real familiar with the ocean species and that. But, a medium-sized, dry good, household-sized type of North American creature. And I never even so much as knew that this thing existed. Like even a wombat. I don't know that I've ever seen a wombat. I don't know that I could even necessarily draw really for you a wombat. But if somebody showed me a picture, I could probably go, oh, yeah, right, okay, there's a wombat before. I did not have any idea that this existed on the earth until 30 minutes ago, and it's blowing my mind. Like, how did this fall through the cracks? But clearly I'm not alone. You didn't know that this was out there.
How did you find this, though? Like, what was the entry point?
The internet just throws stuff at you. You're out there.
I don't know. I'm impervious to all of that. I only see what I want.
Well,
yes, I don't know.
I only see what I don't want is what is usually how it works out.
So you're the ones that they like.
Yeah. But, an alligator snapping turtle. So the alligator goes first on this thing. It is. I mean, it's just a tremendous thing. Anyway, I encourage. Probably not a real. It's not going to be endemic to Montana. Presumably the reptile, hard-shelled, warm weather creatures. But I'm still amazed that this exists. Okay, so this is. I own my ignorance of the animal world and not being able to identify this thing ahead of time. And I'm just wondering if this is out there, how many more are there? Am I going to walk out there one day? Like, how is it that I know about Bigfoot that doesn't exist like the back of my hand, but this thing, which is actually out there, which is far more interesting than Bigfoot, I never heard of it.
Oh, you're amazing. Let's talk some sports.
Brookings, South Dakota, the site of ESPN College Game Day this weekend, Coulter. And there was that push for FCS on College Game Day. And so here's what I wanted to know, Coulter, is now David's angry at me because I'm talking about this out of term, or we're going to talk about this tomorrow. But was this a result of the push is what I'm trying to find out. They had that big hashtag because didn't they want it segmented on the show?
Yeah, it was interesting because I think that there was a little bit misperception of what the actual push was. They wanted a segment on the show, and then they got a site College Game Day in Brookings. I think that's great for the FCS, but it's not the first time, and it probably won't be the last time. But it's good.
I mean, it was already in Fargo. Now it's in Brookings. What do you think the chances are that it ever comes to Montana?
I think it's pretty good.
I mean, the only way they're coming, right? Not the only way, but the only way they would. The best way, the most reasonable way that they would come would be for a Montana State football game, wherever the site was that particular year, when both of these teams are, top 5 in the country or something like that. But also, here's the thing. Now, when Brent I did an interview with Brent Musburger, right, when he was calling the Grizzly North Dakota State game, and people were making a push for them to come to that game and be at that for College Game Day. But he said the reason the Cat Grizz game, doesn't really get done is because at that point of the year, it's so hot and heavy at the FBS level that teams are playing for, a playoff berth or whatever, that when it's coming down to the wire like that, like they would do this in the middle of the season. I mean, there's plenty of places they could go. I mean, Auburn, LSU, although they were just at Louisiana State 2 weeks ago. I know Michigan versus Notre Dame is this weekend. You could do one of those sites, obviously, but also it's not rivalry weekend. I mean, here's the thing: isn't the Cat Grizz game the same weekend as Washington State, Ohio State, Michigan, the Iron Bowl, right? Aren't all of these on the same day usually?
No, usually Cat Grizz is the week before, but this year it is the same week
because of the Thanksgiving
and the 12-game schedule. But usually Cat Grizz is the week before. Usually Cat Grizz is the week that Alabama's playing Gardner Webb, and everybody's having their final tune-up before their rivalry game.
I don't know. I think it would be great for them to come. I'd love for them to come to the state of Montana when it's about 7 below, particularly at 7 a.m. or whatever it is, Mountain, when they go on the air, 8 a.m., something like that around here. It's got to be before that. 7 a.m., I think, Mountain Time.
Maybe even 6?
I think it might be 6 Pacific. But anyway, I mean,
Apple Cup this year is a week after Cat Grizz. I think that's probably across the board.
That's the standard. But even so, I mean, the later you get in the year, the more the quote-unquote races heat up, and all of a sudden some of the matchups that, they kind of flex it out, don't they, on game day? It's not like they schedule it all out for the entire year. They schedule it out up to a point, and in the second half of the year, they kind of make that decision about where they're going to go.
I think they do it week by week.
So weekly. So that's, why they're going here. It would be great if it came to the state of Montana. I mean, it would be absolutely phenomenal. And I think that, look, here's to me, I think people would get a kick out of that. Like, first of all, ESPN College Game Day, it's not the game. You can still watch the Iron Bowl even if game day is somewhere else. And to me, I've always thought that getting a peek into a place that I'm never gonna be at, or very likely never gonna be at, that's part of the beauty of it, right? That's part of the fun of it. I've never been to Brookings, South Dakota. Now, I probably have a better chance of going there than a lot of people do, given both where I live and what I do. So there's a good chance I probably land in Brookings at some point. And I've seen some games on TV there, but I can't wait to see what they bring out for this thing, what some of the history of the school is that I would have never known before. And that's no different there than it is at Auburn or Clemson or Syracuse or Ohio State. That novelty is the same show to show, which is part of the beauty of it. It's just a matter of, are people going to show up? But I imagine they will, right? I mean, there's going to be a big crowd at this game, at this game day, isn't there? Don't you think?
I guess it's just all based on proportion. Like what is a big crowd when you're going to a town of 22,000 people?
But the other thing is, I mean, Pullman is maybe twice the size of Brookings, even though there's a Pac-12 school there. But when they went to Pullman, it was the single greatest game day that's ever been. I mean, it's the greatest game day that's ever been.
But it's by a huge metropolitan area.
Well, it's by Spokane. David's right. He telling us in our area, it's only 120 miles or so from Fargo to go to Brookings, and they're going to show up.
So far beyond show up, though.
Right.
They're going to try to embarrass South Dakota State.
Yes, right.
They are. They're going to try to embarrass South Dakota State. They are going to try to have 2 to 3 times as many people at the party and twice as many people at the game. And I don't know if it's possible. I don't know if South Dakota State's going to give them that many tickets, but they're going to try hard.
Oh, I mean,
I went to Frisco this last year. You're not talking a couple thousand NDSU fans. You're talking 12,000 NDSU fans were there.
Right.
I mean, you walk through the tailgates, there's 20,000 people tailgating and partying before, and that's in Frisco, Texas.
Well, it's easy when you just book your hotel for the next year while you're staying in there that year. It's easy enough.
Oh yeah. No, I asked some people. We stayed at a hotel right by the stadium. I asked some people, how long have you been staying here? So, we come, this is our vacation. We come here to this place and we stay at this hotel and we just renew before we walk out the door because we know we are going to be back.
It's remarkable.
Amazing to be a fan of that level of success.
It's Tootell, Nuanez, 102.9 ESPN Radio, SWX Montana Television. Couple other things. So, okay, I'm being told it's an alligator snapping turtle. Not a snapping turtle, alligator. The alligator comes first. Why not? Give it to the bigger reptile. I'm just amazed that it's a thing. That's all I'm saying. All right, Coulter, let's talk a little bit more actual sports that took place, because there were some notable events yesterday. First, Game 1 of the World Series. The Nationals held on for a 5-4 lead. It felt like to me in this game that if the Nationals are going to have a chance to win the World Series, they had to win Game 1 on the road with their stud, Max Scherzer, going, who, by the way, did not have his best stuff, was grinding. I mean, he threw 48 pitches in the first 2 innings. I told you, I said, he's not going to make it out of the fourth if he's throwing 24, 25 pitches an inning. And you know what? He did, and he did. He went through 5. I think he threw close to 110 pitches in this game, gave up the 2 runs in the first, and got into some trouble, but just willed his way out of it. I mean, this is what the great ones can do, right? Is even when they are not on it in terms of their location, don't have their best stuff, that they find ways to get out of jams, to make it happen in their favor, and he held on. And then, I mean, give the Nationals a ton of credit. They scored 5 runs against Garrett Cole, which hasn't been done in months against Garrett Cole. I think he had a 1.66 ERA in his last 16 starts coming into this game, which, by the way, were all wins. I mean, he's been perfect. He's been absolutely a stalwart, and they got to him last night, and that was the thing that I felt like kind of probably needed to happen for Washington to have a look. I would still pick the Astros to win this series, in total, but I think it gets a lot more interesting now that the Nationals are up 1-0, and, they're going to salvage at least a split coming out of Houston going back to D.C.
Garrett Cole, 1.82 ERA in the postseason. He'd only given up 6 earned runs in 29.2 innings pitched.
Wow.
During the regular season, he only gave up 59 earned runs in 212 innings. He had 2.50 ERA during his what is now a rarity 20-game winning season. And yeah, you're right. He did not have his best stuff last night. He said after the game, I was not on my A game tonight. Once you hang 2 runs in the first inning on Garrett Cole, and once you hang 5 on him by the middle of the game, it becomes a must-win.
Yeah,
you have to win the game
when you've gotten into that spot. But
when you're up 5-2 in the top of the 5th, you must win the game.
Right,
and they did.
They did. And the thing too, though, is that when your middle relief is so poor, which it has been for Washington.
Mm-hmm.
Even though you're 100% right, it becomes even more of a must-win when you're in the position to win it. It is anything but a sure thing. And Houston got 2 more runs, one on a solo shot from George Springer, who is just it's unbelievable, man, to watch this guy at the whole Astros lineup, man. Him, Altuve, Correa, all up and down the line. It's unbelievable. But he does it again, and then they get into a rally type of situation, but Houston, again, able to just allow 1 run. Hudson comes into the game and closes out a very difficult spot in the 8th, I think it was the 8th inning, may have been the 7th, to hold the Astros at bay, and they never were able to get back into that spot the last couple of innings and get the win. So this is a huge, huge win for Washington, and this evens out the series hugely to me, and this all of a sudden gets one where this could go a little ways, where if you would have told me Astros in 5 to start, I would have been like, yeah, sounds about right.
My guy Ryan Zimmerman, first draft pick in Nationals history.
Bombs away. Yeah.
Juan Soto becomes the 4th player to hit a home run in the World Series before his 21st birthday.
Right.
Pretty impressive.
Turns 21 on Friday, is it?
Sometime
like
this week, yeah. During this World Series, he will finally be legal to drink, but he made sure to hit a bomb and drive in 3 runs last night.
It's
why he's still a quote-unquote minor. Yeah, pretty good.
I mean, I didn't need to win a World Series on my 21st birthday to still, celebrate. But if I had won a World Series on my 21st birthday, that seems like it might have upped it a level. I mean, that's pretty great. Although Juan Soto, where's he from? I mean, he's from Latin America somewhere. And, I don't know what all the rules
from the Dominican Republic.
From the DR. Okay. He might be, he might be 35 as far as he could probably run for president of the DR, You got to wait. There's more statutes here in the States, you got to get further along. So there you go. There's the World Series. Game 2 tonight is at 6:08. It is on ESPN Radio. We'll have the first pitch for you. We'll have every game for you, the World Series, all World Series long. And again, it just doesn't let up. It's Steven Strasburg. And who's going tonight for Houston? Justin Verlander. Okay. Verlander, Strasburg. I mean, after Cole and Scherzer, we can do that all day long. All right, Coulter, one more for you. Opening night in the NBA last night. The Clippers, a 112-102 winner over the Los Angeles Lakers. Your boy LeBron James looked old and tired and haggard. Like he's just... I'm just playing. Come on now. I'm playing with you. Did you watch the Clippers-Lakers game last night?
I watched the 4th quarter, yeah.
Okay. And then, by the way, how about the Raptors getting it done in overtime and holding on to stamp their ring-giving ceremony up there in Toronto, handing out the rings from the NBA Finals championship last year. They win in overtime over the New Orleans Pelicans. By the way, I think the Pelicans, this is not I'm not saying anything that anybody didn't know, but they're good, man. They got some players in New Orleans, and especially when Zion comes back and, contributes presumably to this team. could be a fun team to watch with the New Orleans Pelicans. But last night was not to be. It was the Toronto Raptors and Pascal Siakam with 34 and 18. I think he did last night, and a win for the Raptors. And then the Battle of Los Angeles, dude. The Clippers, man. The Clippers are. I like the Lakers a lot. Okay, the Clippers are better than the Lakers. I think the Clippers are better than the Lakers. Outside of the two superstars, I mean, what Patrick Beverley brings to a team in his just dogged, in-your-face, relentless competitiveness is remarkable. I love it. And obviously, Lou Williams.
Not go 0-5 from 3 like he was last night.
But he can. He did, and it didn't matter. And then let Lou Williams come in there and just torch it up. I mean, this is a great team. Paul George not playing last night. And they still went in and got it done with Kawhi Leonard there. This Clippers team is next level, man. I think I'm not going to start sitting here and making predictions. All I'm going to say is that the Clippers are an elite team. They're one of the top tier teams in the NBA.
Well, sure, they got the best player in the league until proven otherwise. And Kawhi Leonard, when he's been healthy, he's been the MVP of the finals against LeBron James, and then against the Golden State Warriors. As good a resume as anybody else has.
It's pretty great. All right, Coulter, we'll take a quick break. Let's do some Wing It Wednesday again. About 20 minutes from now, we're going to be joined by Jake Mayer, UC Davis quarterback. They're hosting Weber State this weekend, so we'll talk to the preseason all-conference player of the year on the Big Sky here in about 20, 25 minutes from now. But next, we do some trivia for you. 329-1899, the phone number, 329-1899. Give us a call right now. We'll give some wings out. We'll do it with you right after this. Alpine Touch has been part of the fabric of Montana for more than 60 years. Decades ago, Russell Street started selling his touch of magic in whitefish. Years later, Alpine Touch's all-purpose seasoning remains a favorite. It's tailgating season, and there's no better way to spice up your grill before a Grizz game than with Alpine Touch. Go to alpinetouch.com now and use the checkout code ESPN10 for a 10% discount on your order. Alpine Touch is here to keep your mouth watering all football season. Alpine Touch, Montana's special spice.
Hi there, it's Les Schwab Tires. You know, we've been helping keep folks safe on the road around here since 1952. That's why you can save up to $152 on a set of 4 select light truck and SUV tires during our fall tire sale. So swing by or book an appointment at leschwab.com. Les Schwab Tires, doing the right thing since 1952. Limited time offer while supplies last. Discount depends on tire size and type. Cannot be combined with other offers. Details at leschwab.com.
On Russell, across from the fairgrounds.
No matter how far you may go, there's always one just down the road. Town Pump, ooh, pump it up, pump it up.
When you need a little extra brain power, head over to Town Pump. They've got what you need. 5-hour energy shots, 3 for $5. Plus, Old Trapper 10-ounce jerky, only $10.99. Get energized at your Town Pump right down the road.
Town Pump, right down the road. Pump it up, oh yeah.
It's a rite of passage, that first bank account. Explore the great options for your young adult with a visit to Farmer State Bank, online at farmersebank.com or in person at any of our 9 locations in western Montana. Our checking and savings accounts are designed to fit any lifestyle and budget with the flexibility, innovations, and security today's consumers demand. Start out right with Farmer State Bank, your Montana bank since 1907. Member FDIC.
It's time for the second annual Flippin' Fun Glow Run, a fundraiser for the Ravalli County Gymnastics Booster Club. Don your neon and lace up those running shoes for a glowing 5K and Kids Mile Fun Run at the Corvallis High School on Friday, November 1st. The run starts at dusk and the course is lit with glow sticks. Competitors are given glow sticks to wear. There'll be prizes to win, and all proceeds support gymnasts' competition fees. Sign up at eventbrite.com before or on October 23rd to get an event t-shirt.
Are you interested in putting solar panels on your roof? Do you want the latest on Montana's renewable energy policies? The Montana Renewable Energy Association is a leading voice for renewable energy education and advocacy in Montana. From community-based clean energy events to advocating at the Montana legislature, they work to ensure Montana's future is powered by the sun, wind, and earth. Find out more about MREA and join as a member by visiting montanarenewables.org or calling 406-214-9405.
ESPN Missoula Sports Center.
Good afternoon, Ryan Tootell, Colton Nuanez, 102.9 ESPN Sports Center. On Tuesday, playoff games across the state took place to determine the 8-team field for the Class AA state boys and girls soccer tournaments. In girls action, Missoula Hellgate beat Helena Capital 5-0, while Missoula Sentinel defeated Missoula Big Sky 3-1 to advance. In boys action, reigning champion Hellgate blasted Butte 8-0, while Helena Capital took apart Big Sky 9-1. Helena High also outlasted Missoula Sentinel 3-2 to advance.
In the most recent Treasure State media poll conducted by KGEZ in Kalispell, Butte remains number one in Class AA after receiving 12 of 18 first-place votes. The 8-0 Bulldogs are one spot ahead of 7-0 Billings West, who got the other 6 first-place votes. Missoula Sentinels number 3, Bozeman number 4, and Capital is number 5.
How about if I turn my mic on? In Class A, Hamilton remains number 1 after earning 8 of 13 first-place votes, while Miles City, the only undefeated team in Class A, is number 2. Frenchtown is third this week, while Dillon, just ahead of Dillon, and Laurel rounds out the top 5 in Class A.
And finally, in Class B, Frenchtown jumped in the top 5 for the first time this season after the Falcons defeated Missoula Loyola for the first time in a generation to break into the poll. Fairfield, number 1 again in the Class B ranks.
This ESPN Missoula Sports Center is brought to you by Aspen Sound.
An alligator snapping turtle. I mean, what's next? You know? A horse snake?
I don't know why you're so perplexed by this.
I mean, it's just the not knowing, you know? I fancy myself, you know, a knower of things like this. Animals. You know? Do I know every species of dogs? No, but I'm aware there's dogs.
What I think is so fascinating is that humans are so involved in dissecting every species of animal, but we've never actually gotten down to the down and dirty of all the species of human.
I don't know.
Like there's
like Neanderthal.
Like there's I remember a guy who I used to work with he was like 5'1", and I used to always tease him and say, it's crazy that you're the same animal as Dwight Howard. Like, you guys are not in the same. There's nothing close about you.
But the bear, if you go to the bear world, you don't think there's a grizzly that's 10 feet tall and a grizzly that's 7 feet tall, and they're both talking amongst each other and go,
yeah, but
what
like the genetic
here?
differences in humans is so vast.
I mean, I just think it's the same across all species.
I guess you're missing my point.
Tootell, Nuanez, I guess so. 102.9 ESPN Radio, SWX Montana Television. We are broadcasting live from the Kurtz Polaris studios. Kurtz Polaris at 2904 West Broadway in Missoula, Highway 83 in Sealy, and online at kurtzpolaris.com. It is time for a Wing It Wednesday. We go to the phone. We welcome in Scott to the show. Scott, how are you?
Great. How about yourself?
Doing great, Scott. I appreciate it very much. Now, here's the deal. Coulter's got 3 questions for you. If you answer all 3 of these questions, you got yourself a basket of wings to the Desperado and a shirt. Now, I'm just going to ask you this. I'm not trying to lead you anywhere. I'm just wondering, if you had just one of the 2, would you prefer the shirt or would you prefer the wings?
Oh, definitely the wings.
Okay. Well, here's the good news then. Even if you miss one, you're still going to get the wings. Okay? Does that sound all right? And if you need any help, I am your lifeline. All right, Scott?
Sounds great.
Boys, some chicken wings would really hit the spot. Tummy likey. Tummy want wingy.
All right, Scott. Here we go. Question number 1. Coulter, what do we got for Scott today?
Some baseball questions.
Oh, boy.
Some more specifically, World Series questions. So they got 2 contemporary World Series, 1 historical World Series. So number 1, this player who hit a home run in last night's Game 1 of the World Series was the first draft pick ever in Washington Nationals history.
So for the Washington Nationals, he hit the home run for the Nationals last night?
Yeah, he hit the Nationals home run. And this is obviously when the Nationals relocated then to Washington, D.C., and it was like 2003 or something like that.
Yep.
And this was their first player ever taken, and he played in the World Series last night, hit a home run.
Okay, let's see. So Soto hit a home run last night.
Never a bad spot to use your lifeline, too, just to get the first one under your belt. You know what I mean, Scott? You can always...
Yeah, that's true. I'm going to go with Soto because I can't think of anybody else. Wait a second. Somebody else hit home run, too. Zimmerman. No.
All right, Scott, we're putting you on the clock here. 3.
Okay.
2. You want to go with Soto?
No, let's go with Zimmerman.
Ryan Zimmerman.
Okay.
The first ever Washington Nationals draft pick.
How about Ryan Zimmerman? Pretty good. Pretty good. Okay.
Soto hasn't been around long enough.
Which leads me into my next question. Juan Soto, who is only 20 years old, became the 4th player to hit a home run in the World Series before his 21st birthday. Give me one other player. There's 3 other guys that have hit home runs before their 21st birthday and then in the World Series. Give me one of them.
There's been 4 besides him?
3 besides him. He was the 4th.
Okay. Might need some help on this. Let me think here. Ooh, young people. Okay, I'm gonna go for a lifeline here.
Well, I would like to say Mike Trout, but he's never played in the World Series. He's done every other thing before his 21st birthday, for crying out loud. I don't know that Ken Griffey Jr. ever played in the World Series. That big home or the big double or whatever it was that he hit, I think, was to go to the ALCS. And I don't know how old he was at that time. So this may be an historic thing. I don't know if Bonds ever played in a World Series when he was a kid. I don't even know when Bonds broke into the league.
Early 1990s.
But I guess not when he broke into the league, but how old he was. I mean, when he broke in. With the Pirates. And I don't know if they ever went to a World Series at that time either. I don't know, man. I mean, you go with like a Babe Ruth or something like that. You know, go really historic.
That's closer.
Yeah. I don't know. Yeah. Babe Ruth.
You got to think of
Yogi
young
Berra.
Yankees.
Well,
yeah.
They were all young at some point.
Fan, I'm going to go with Mickey Mantle.
Bingo. Mickey Mantle.
Okay, Mickey Mantle. Very good,
I'll
Scott.
save the other 2 so I can stump Ryan after we get Scott off the phone.
Okay.
Oh, come on. You can't do that.
Well, okay, I'll give it to you because Ryan obviously doesn't know. We just asked him. So, Andrew Jones from the Atlanta Braves.
Sure. Yep.
And Miguel Cabrera for the Detroit Tigers.
Ooh. Cabrera's a pretty
never would have come up with
pretty good hitter.
It's amazing.
Did all right.
It's amazing the heights you can reach and then how fast you can fall off
quickly.
Right?
Yeah.
All right, number 3.
Last question. Here we go, Scott.
Name this player who has 18 career home runs, the most in the history of the World Series.
Okay, is this World Series or playoffs?
World Series, just in the World Series. 18 of home runs.
Because I was going to say Bernie Williams, but I think that's playoff. He was a record holder. Let's see. I've already used my lifeline.
All right, Scott, here we go. We got 5 seconds. Ready? Just shout something out. 3, 2. Go old school Yankee again. What the heck? I mean, they were in it forever.
Yeah. That's as good a guess as any. Yeah. Maybe stick with Mickey Mantle.
There you go. Go Mickey Mantle again.
That's it.
You got Mickey Mantle in there twice?
Mickey Mantle in there twice.
Yeah.
In keeping with the theme, huh, Coulter?
It's home runs in the World Series. Mickey Mantle's the greatest home run hitter in World Series history. I mean, what do you want me to do? He hit him when he was 20. He hit him when he was 35. He hit him. I mean, he played in the World Series like 7 times.
I mean, that does help. All right, Scott, give your information to David there in the back. We appreciate the call, all right?
Thanks, guys.
There you go. Do another one at the top of the hour. 18 home runs in a World Series, huh? I mean, how many guys even get one?
Yeah, I mean, all the World Series stats are so skewed because in the late 20s through late 50s, the Yankees won everything. They won everything all the time. And when you go from Babe Ruth to Lou Gehrig to Joe DiMaggio to Mickey Mantle, I mean, it's the history of the game. It's amazing.
Why do you think that the Yankees haven't won World Series? I mean, the way that not that you're going to win, 6 out of 10 and all, that sort of thing. But what was the last one they won? Was 05?
No, 09.
09 was the last one. And how long before that?
Oh, man.
They won one recently, or not long before that. I mean, they won a couple in the 2000s, right? But they lost the one in 2001, but they were in it. But I guess the Yankees, they would be there all the time. They were just in the ALCS, so that's a
2000 and 2009 are their only ones in the 21st century. Okay. They've played in the World Series 2000, 2001, 2003, 2009.
So they won 2 and lost 2. They've been in it 4 times. They haven't been in it since 2009. And
to answer your question, I think that the way that baseball had this crazy tipping point where all of a sudden it became the norm to reward superstar players with long contracts when they were in their prime. Therefore, the contract was going to last until they were past their prime, and the Yankees did this more than anyone, and they tried to buy World Series, which you'd think would work, but then they were saddled with so many contracts of guys that were no longer producing when you're paying them $25 to $30 million.
Mm-hmm. Well, I accept that answer as valid. That sounds good to me.
I also think that it's a similar dynamic to the Grizz and the Big Sky Conference. The Grizz set the pace for everybody in the Big Sky Conference. Everybody had to get better to catch the Grizz. Everybody tried to replicate so many things that the Grizz did and so many things that were exterior factors of the Grizz having success. And that exact thing happened to the Yankees with the Red Sox. The Red Sox were tired of being the little brother, and the Red Sox started spending like the Yankees. And who's won more World Series in the 21st century? The Red Sox by a long shot. I mean, how many World Series the Red Sox won in the 21st century? 4, maybe 5?
No, 3.
3?
I think 3. But a reasonable explanation. And the balance of power is a little bit more even. It's Tootell Nuanez, 102.9 ESPN Radio. Hey, want to remind everybody, again, we're giving away a kegerator and a keg from Fred's Appliance and Great Burn Brewing. Where you do an award of the day. You're going to text in the word of the day to 200-8184. That's 406-200-8184. So be listening throughout the show for the word of the day. When you hear it, text it in, and you'll be entered to win. You can enter every single day of this contest, okay? And also, today will be the last day that we register people for tickets to the Montana Eastern Washington football game. So we will register 3 more people today. We'll tell you when to call in and be one of the first 3 callers in, and you'll be registered for Grizzly Eastern Washington tickets. And so we'll let you know when the time is coming for that. And, we're already 40 minutes in, so you can tell. We're going to do this in a condensed version next hour and 20 minutes. We're going to take a quick break, though. We'll come back. Jake Mayer, the quarterback of the UC Davis Aggies, the preseason Big Sky Conference Football Player of the Year, and a great kid, senior quarterback, outstanding quarterback for UC Davis, going to join us as they host Weber State in one of the big games in the Big Sky Conference Saturday. So we'll talk with him right after this. Boys and girls, been telling you this, and I'm going to tell you again. I'm going to keep harping on it till you listen to me. Okay? Don't clean your own gutters. It's a bad idea. Okay? It's not a fun job. It's a hard job. And not just because it's hard, but it's messy, doesn't smell good. And you can get yourself into a precarious situation when you're hanging out just 6 inches too far over the edge of your ladder, and down you go. It's bad news. In fact, really bad news. It's dangerous. Don't risk it, okay? Go to MissoulaGutterCleaning.com. Online, MissoulaGutterCleaning.com. You got better things to do. Yes, more better. That's right. More better things to do. You can get out there, go golfing. You can still go golfing, man. It's still possible. Go out with the kids. Go on a walk. Go on a date. Watch some TV. Read a book, for crying out loud. Anything you want to do. Take that cooking class you've been putting off. Just don't clean your gutters. Go to MissoulaGutterCleaning.com. Get your estimate right now. And when the job is done, they'll give you a $20 gift card to your favorite brewery or coffee shop as well when the job is complete. MissoulaGutterCleaning.com. Again, online. Go there now. Get your estimate today. MissoulaGutterCleaning.com.
We combine quality ingredients with home-style recipes to create the Montana Club's fall comfort food menu. Savor our tender boneless beef short rib or caramelized brandy apple pork shank. Dig into our classic savory chicken pot pie or fall for our zesty skillet lasagna. Top things off with our creamy pumpkin skillet a la mode. Scratch-made comfort food that's as real as it gets. Served 11:30 to close at the Montana Club on Brooks and North Reserve, Missoula.
In Western Montana, we know shopping local matters, and you may think you'd pay more for the quality and customer service that comes with it, but not at Selway Armory. Selway Armory is locally owned with knowledgeable specialists that can answer your questions. In addition to the expertise, though, Selway Armory also has a bigger selection and lower prices than the box stores. When you're in the market for firearms and accessories, save money with the experts at Selway Armory. Selway Armory, 2825 Stockyard Road, Unit E6, and online at selwayarmory.com.
Hey, it's Coulter, and I'm here with Catherine from The Advocates. If you've been in a car accident or need help dealing with the insurance companies, you should give The Advocates a call. They can tell you if you have a case right over the phone.
That's right. It doesn't cost anything to call, and we'd be happy to talk to you and assess your situation. You don't want to have to deal with contacting the insurance companies and setting up a claim. We can do that for you. We take the hassle out of the process, so you can just focus on getting better.
There you go, folks. If you've been injured in an accident, give The Advocates a call, 406-640-4444, or online at montanaadvocates.com. You deserve The Advocates.
Tell Us Something is calling for you to pitch your true story on the theme of Tipping Point. 8 storytellers will be selected to share their true personal story from memory on the theme of Tipping Point. And each storyteller is paid a stipend for sharing their story. The live event is happening December 10th with a pitch deadline November 18th. Call 406-203-4683 to pitch your story. Members from our deaf community are welcome to pitch a story online at tellussomething.org/tellastory.
Hi, this is Michael Legg, Artistic Director at Montana Repertory Theater. Next at the Rep is Love That Dog, a play for young audiences. Jack's teacher won't stop giving the class poetry assignments, but Jack hates poetry. Every time he tries to write a poem, his brain feels empty. But an assignment to write about Jack's dog changes everything. Love That Dog is suitable for all ages and runs November 1st and 2nd. Get your tickets at montanarep.com.
Help protect our community from prescription drug misuse, abuse, and overdose on National Prescription Drug Take-Back Day. This Saturday, you can turn in your unused or expired medications at the Grizz game. Just look for the DEA booth at the parking lot near the entrance of the stadium. If you can't make it to the game, go to MissoulaCounty.us for a list of Dropbox locations in Missoula. This event is brought to you by Curry Health Center, Save Kids Missoula at Foundation for Community Health, and the Prescription Drug Task Force, a coalition of Missoula City County Health Department.
Tootell and Nuanez on 102.9 ESPN Radio for Missoula.
Some days it's good, other days it's great. This is one of those days. It's Tootell and Nuanez, 102.9 ESPN Radio, SWX Montana Television. Great to be with you on this Wednesday afternoon. Wanted to move on, wanted to get into it. Thursday night football and everything, but Wednesday, just savor the moment. Happy to be with you. We are broadcasting live from the Kurtz Polaris studios. Kurtz Polaris at 2904 West Broadway in Missoula, Highway 83 in Sealy, online at kurtzpolaris.com. You can find us all over social medias, on Twitter and on Instagram. The station at 1029 ESPN is the handle, at 1029 ESPN. Follow us on Twitter and Instagram. See all the cool things that we're doing, okay? Yeah, I don't know a better way to sell it than that. At Gus Tootell, that's me personally. At Skyline Sports MT for your up-to-the-moment Big Sky Conference information, news, all of that stuff. Jake Mayer going to join us just a moment, the quarterback from UC Davis. And Coulter, UC Davis had an interesting year so far. They went and as the number 4 team in the nation, they lost to the University of Montana. And they followed that up with a 2-point loss on the road at North Dakota. Tough place to play, but fell there as well. But they've won the last couple, and they're the number 22 team in the nation, and sort of, I think, figuring it out and navigating the waters of a new season. And still, obviously, very much in the mix, a nationally ranked team still.
Oh, absolutely. When you have one of the quarterbacks in the country, one of the best players in the country, you got a chance. And I think that's what makes UC Davis and Eastern Washington dangerous, even if they didn't have the starts to their season that you might have liked. It's also just interesting the way that some of these unbalanced schedules work out. Sometimes you play, like if you were to put pencil to paper, maybe you'd think that UC Davis was an 8 or 9 or 10 win team coming into this year. And maybe they just lost a couple of those games early and they might surge down the stretch. We'll see. But they have a huge game against Weber State this weekend.
Huge.
An elimination game, honestly, probably for UC Davis.
Yeah, I mean, potentially. I mean, depending on the way it goes. I mean, UC Davis right now is 2-2 in the Big Sky Conference. They're 4-4 overall. They one of those losses is to North Dakota State, and then they lose to Montana and then North Dakota. So there's 3 losses in a row. But now they've bounced back with wins over Cal Poly and Southern Utah, and they have still Portland State on the schedule after that, and then they go Montana State at home and then on the road at Sacramento State. What a way to finish for UC Davis. I mean, we talked about strength of schedule, difficulty of schedule, and coming into this year, we kind of like, okay, yeah, UC Davis, that's a good schedule, but all of a sudden you look at it and you go, wow. I mean, how about that? I mean, not to get to go, and you play North Dakota State, Montana State, Weber State, and Sacramento State. I mean, that's a heck of a group right there that they've gone up against, and they've been good. So with that schedule, you played 3 different teams that were in the top 5 at some point. Maybe not when you played them, but North Dakota State was number 1. Weber State's number 4 this week. So there's 2 teams when they were in the top 5 when you played them. Mm-hmm. You played a Montana team that jumped into the top 5 after they beat you, and you still have to play a top 10 team in Sacramento State. You have this Weber State game, and you have Montana State, who's been in the top 10. So, does a 7-5 record against that schedule get you in if you're UC Davis? Well, it depends who you beat, man. Like if
they got to win one of these games,
at
right?
least
you can't just lose all of the top 10 teams.
That's right. And by the way, they are kind of on the edge right now already at 22. And I mean, so if they lost to, I think they can lose one more game, but I don't know if they can lose 2 more. And be in a whole lot of business. Of course, presumably, I mean, a lot of teams in the Big Sky Conference are going to be 2-loss teams and still be really good. 2-loss conference teams, not just 2 losses overall, two conference losses. And so, they're if they end up with a 3rd loss in conference, I don't think that by any stretch spells, any sort of disaster or, not making the postseason. But, the losses that they have had, and especially I think that North Dakota game, looms pretty large for UC Davis right now because it was a tough spot. They had, the big loss at home. It kind of takes some of the wind out of your sails, and now you got to travel to the farthest place you could possibly go to play a conference game against North Dakota, and they are, they're not there. So, Tootell, Nuanez, 102.9 ESPN Radio, SWX Montana Television. See if we go to the phones and bring in Jake Merritt. Will you say that he is here, or or are we still efforting him right now? Okay, we're still working on him, so we'll bring him in when we're able to. And at Coulter, I mean, you talk about the Grizzlies playing Eastern Washington and Montana State at North Dakota, who beat UC Davis, as we talked about. You talked about this point in the season in the Big Sky Conference. This is sort of a week where the reckoning begins. All this time up to this point has been, let's figure out who's good. Let's figure out who isn't good. Let's see how some of these teams shape up. But now some of the big heavy hitters are going to play each other. Top 25 matchup, UC Davis, Weber State. Top 25, or nearly top 25 matchup, Eastern Washington at Montana. Montana State at a tough place to play in Fargo against the Fighting Hawks. Like, this is where all of this stuff starts to get separated out, and teams, their season starts to take a fork in the road for good or for bad.
It's my favorite part about the FCS, because we have argued just so passionately about the college football playoff. What is the right solution for the college football playoff? Some people say the college football season is the playoff, and the way that it's constructed now, it's essentially true. When you're Oregon, you essentially lost your chance to get in the playoff when you lost your opener, and maybe that turns back around, maybe, but I don't think that's going to be the case. Most of the time in the FBS, a loss is a kiss of death. so often in this level of football, the North Dakota State dominance of this decade has skewed actually what the FCS and Division I AA was so often about. There was times when the Youngstown States, Montanas, Georgia Southerns of the world really did. They were the best teams who then dominated. But so often it was the hottest teams that would win at the FCS level. From Montana State in 1984 all the way through Richmond in 2008, those teams were not the best in the country until they were. And so oftentimes when you have 2 losses, 3 losses, 4 losses back against the wall, you have that can't lose mentality, but then you might just win. You might just win the whole rest of the time. Yeah. And that's a situation that a lot of these teams are facing. We'll see how they respond.
We go now to the Raggage Brothers RV phone line. We do welcome in the aforementioned quarterback for the UC Davis Aggies, the number 22 team in the nation, and the preseason, by the way, Conference Football Player of the Year, Jake Mayer, joining us. Jake, thank you so much for being with us. How are you?
I'm doing well, man. Thanks for having me.
You bet. We're certainly happy to have you in here. And look, man, we were just talking about the season and the arc of the Big Sky Conference in general, and certainly specifically you guys. And, you had a tough loss to Montana and then a really difficult road trip to Fargo, but then bounced back with a couple of wins back-to-back. You're 2-2 on the season. But this, now a huge game against Weber State. I know guys say, look, okay, it's just about the next team, the next opponent. You just got to keep going. But this is a big game right in the arc of the season for you guys, isn't it, against Weber State?
I'm going to have to agree with what you said, the first part about what you said.
No, don't do that. Don't do that to me.
I'm going to have to, man.
Jake.
I have to.
Go ahead.
Man.
You do it.
Okay. Well, hey, listen, this opponent we have coming into our house is very worthy and, coached really well and has a high standard of play. So, we have to bring our A game just like we'd have to every other week. But, the emphasis of us playing well and doing our job and not doing anything out of the ordinary is going to be extremely important because, Weber does a great job of taking advantage of your mistakes. So we have to play a clean game, and if we do that, we'll see what happens. But I have to do it to you, man. I'm sorry.
You're not going to get one of these smart kids from UC Davis to walk into the trap that you set for him, man. I mean, it's just not going to happen. He's too savvy a guy to fall for that. Okay, go ahead, Coulter. I know you got something for him.
Hey, Jake. Compare and contrast last season to this season, because last season you guys went on such a great run, and you guys were riding the momentum, and the one loss you had during Big Sky played Eastern Washington. You bounced back, won a couple in a row, won your rivalry game, won a playoff game, got another shot at Eastern Washington. This year, you had that 3-game losing streak, but now you guys have bounced back and won 2 in a row since then. What's the dynamic like just in terms of the mentality of the team, and how important is it to put those losses behind you and just focus on the future?
Well, we talked about it going into the year that, 2 different seasons are entirely different. They have different dynamics, like you said. Last year, we had a lot of things go our way. We won a lot of close ball games, and we played well down the stretch late in games that gave us the opportunity to win. And, this year we've played in a lot of close games as well, and sometimes we've won and other times we haven't. So it's just those few plays a game that, swing, a certain way, whether it's, positive for us, negative for us, and that ultimately can decide a game. So I just think this year we've been, on the losing side of things when it came to some of those close games. And but that's part of a season, and that's part of the journey of this thing. It's never going to go the way you want it. Last year, we experienced a lot of success, but ultimately, how quickly things can change in this conference and how competitive everybody is, and how teams handle injury and road trips, and all those different dynamics are, extremely valuable when it comes to competing in this league. And, we know that, the preseason 9th or 10th team can easily be the best team in the league by the end of the year when it's all said and done. So, it took us a while there to understand that. I think that kind of played a role in the losing streak, and, we felt like maybe we were underachieving and we weren't living up to the expectation. But ultimately, once we figured out that the only expectation that matters is the one internally, and then it really started turning around for us. We're in a good spot right now mentally, and physically we're starting to get guys back. So, we're really excited for the last month here. We knew that if we can get ourselves in a situation where we're playing meaningful games in late October and November, then then we felt pretty good about riding this thing out and seeing where it takes us.
Jake Mayer joining us. He's the quarterback of the UC Davis Aggies. They host number 4 Weber State this weekend. And Jake, Dan Hawkins, your head coach, is a guy who I've found to be just so intriguing and interesting. He's got such a unique philosophy, it seems to me, in the landscape of college football and football coaches. And it takes, I think, a particular type of guy to really be attracted to that. But what do you have you just enjoyed about being with Coach Hawkins these last several years?
I just enjoyed how much the details really matter to him, and just with everything that we do as people, as players, as students, as family men, all that stuff is really, really important to him. And it's like I said, it comes back to the minute details of everything. Everything you do counts and matters, and he always teaches us you need to live a life at high standards, and that goes for on the field and off the field. I think there's a bit of a misconception with, who he is as a person and as a role model. And I think people automatically assume that since he does have a big personality that, he tends to, mess around or something or have, just overly dominant personality. But the reality is Coach Hawkins is very serious about what he does. And he instills in us every day, to have discipline and balance in your life, and all those things that he teaches us, we take to heart, and he's dead serious about it. And if you're out of line, he'll be there to hold you accountable and make sure you're going the right direction.
Once upon a time, you were getting recruited pretty hard by Weber State as well. So what's that dynamic going to be like? I know you're all in UC Davis Aggie now, 3-year starter at quarterback, but what do you remember about Jay Hill recruiting you, and what's that dynamic going to be like taking on Weber State this week?
Well, I remember when I played them 2 years ago, that was a rough outing for us as a team, and me personally as a quarterback, I didn't play very well, and they did a great job of keeping us off balance on offense and mixing up their different coverages and blitzes, and that's a great program. And Coach Hill briefly recruited me, and I didn't have very many conversations with him, but the respect that I have for him and what he's done for Weber State is high. And I don't know how much of a dynamic you were asking. I don't know how much of a role that'll play into it, but it's always great to compete against the best, and to me, him and his program is right there.
Well, Jake, we're looking forward to this game. It's going to be an exciting one, a big one, certainly for us as fans and as guys who cover the Big Sky to watch. 4 o'clock Pacific time, 5 o'clock Mountain Standard Time on 11 Sports. And I know that players don't know as much about the periphery or don't really care about what's going on, but I'm telling you what, UC Davis, they got it figured out. Because you know what they got going on in this football game this week? They got a brew fest and a dance clinic. Both of them. Like, they know, okay, well, if these people are going to dance, well, we got to have the beer to go with it, or else nobody's showing up for the thing. So I'm telling you what, props to the people at UC Davis for getting this thing right. You know what I mean, Jake?
I know what you mean. We're trying to create an environment that's fun and that has a lot of energy and is electric, and we really want this thing to be a home field advantage. I mean, we go to a lot of places here in the Big Sky that are very proud for the environment that they have, and we're just trying to do it our own way and do it in a classy way and make sure that everybody's excited because this year the crowds we've had for our home games have been outstanding, regardless of whatever the theme is for the evening. I know last 2 weekends ago we had the largest attendance in the stadium's history. So if we can keep this thing rolling and keep fans and students excited, then UC Davis is going to be a spot to be.
Yeah, well, this would be a great game to continue that against the number 4 team in the nation, Weber State. I think people hopefully will expect them to show up and support and enjoy this game for sure. We certainly will. But Jake, thanks so much for being with us, man. Best of luck to you this weekend. Okay.
Thank you very much, man. It's always an honor.
Same. Appreciate it. Jake Mayer, boys and girls. He's the head quarterback. He's the head quarterback of the UC Davis Aggies. And obviously a very astute kid. Great to talk to. Tremendously talented. 2,500 yards and 21 touchdowns last season. And he just keeps rolling. I mean, they got it figured out on offense. Great player and a really great kid to talk to. So we appreciate his time very much. We'll take a quick break. Hour 1 in the books. You missed anything in the first hour? Listen on the podcast. Podcast available on the TuneIn Radio app and on iTunes and on Spotify. Wherever you get your podcasts, you can get the Tootell Nuanez podcast presented by the Wingate by Wyndham Hotel. Going to do a Wing It Wednesday right now. I got some trivia questions for you. 329-1899. You can call in for that right now if you'd like to. 329-1899. And don't forget, in the next hour, we're going to give you the word of the day to win a keg and a kegerator. Speaking of Brewfest from the Burns Street, from I always said, well, it is Burn Street Bistro, isn't it? But from Great Burn Brewing, everything's burning. You know, it's the way we do it around here. From Great Burn Brewery and from Fred's Appliance on the kegerator. And we will register you for the Grizzly Eastern Washington Eagle football game. So all that coming up, hour number 2 next. The Polaris factory authorized clearance is here. The world's best-selling off-road lineup is priced to move with financing as low as 3.99% and rebates up to $3,500. Live life wide open in a high-performance RZR. Tackle anything from mountains to mud holes on a legendary Sportsman ATV. Get more done with a hard-working Ranger or take on any task or trail in a versatile Polaris General. The best deals of the year are happening now. See Polaris.com or your Polaris dealer for rebates up to $3,500 and financing as low as 3.99% APR for 36 months during the Polaris factory authorized clearance. Kurtz Polaris at 2904 West Broadway in Missoula and Highway 83 in Sealy. Kurtz Polaris is now showcasing all of the new 2020 Polaris off-road vehicles to be the first to get a great deal on brand new state-of-the-art Polaris vehicles at Kurtz Polaris. Online at kurtzpolaris.com. Rebates valid in U.S. through 10/31/19 on new 2015 through 2019 vehicles. Financing offer valid on 2015s through 2020s, subject to credit approval. Offers vary by model. See dealer for details. Always wear a helmet. Never drink and ride.
Fall is here, and with crisp mornings, there is no better way to start your day with a delicious drink from Florence Coffee. With flavors like indulgent white chocolate, decadent Madagascar vanilla, and rich dark chocolate, Flowco is sure to start your day off right wherever you're heading. We look forward to serving you and visit FlorenceCoffeeCo.com.
The best flavor under the big sky, Florence Coffee Company.
This is Mike Nugent with Berkshire Hathaway Home Services. Berkshire Hathaway provides Western Montana with full-time real estate professionals for you whenever you need us. Our reputation as the state's most knowledgeable and available real estate group has helped build unmatched trust in the Garden City and statewide. If you have been thinking of making a real estate move in the short or long term, give me a call. No pressure, no expectations. Just professional opinions and service at whatever pace you are comfortable with. Give me, Mike Nugent, a call today, 531-1802. And remember, every question is good to ask.
The big skies are open. Go wild with Opportunity Reward Checking. Go ahead, jump, dance, shout. Opportunity Reward Checking will make you do that. Go wild when you get your 1% cash back on qualified debit card purchases. It all starts with an Opportunity Reward Checking account from Opportunity Bank. Visit a branch today to get started. Then go wild and spend your 1% cash back however you want. Go wild with Reward Checking from Opportunity Bank. Some restrictions may apply. Member FDIC.
Have you been hurt or disabled? Are you missing time from work and not sure what to do? I'm attorney Chris Helmer, and Clark Fork Law Offices in Missoula is here to help. Our team specializes in worker compensation, personal injury, and Social Security disability. We fight for the benefits you deserve. Call Clark Fork Law at 728-0168 for a free consultation or visit clarkforklaw.com. Again, 728-0168.
ESPN Radio for Western Montana, KKVU HD3 Stevensville, and 102.9 FM on K275BS Missoula. ESPN Missoula Sports Center.
Good afternoon, Ryan Tootell, Colton Nuanez, ESPN Sports Center. On Tuesday, playoff games from across the state took place to determine the 8-team field for the Class AA state boys and girls soccer tournaments. In girls action, Missoula Hellgate beat Helena Capital 5-0, while Missoula Sentinel defeated Missoula Big Sky 3-1 to advance. In boys action, reigning champion Hellgate blasted Butte 8-0, while Helena Capital took apart Big Sky 9-1. Also, Helena High outlasted Sentinel 3-2 to advance.
In the most recent Treasure State football media poll conducted by KGEZ in Kalispell, Butte remains number 1 in Class AA after receiving 12 of 18 first-place votes. The 8-0 Bulldogs, one spot ahead of 7-0 Billings West, who got the other 6 first-place votes. Sentinel is number 3, Bozeman number 4, and Capital is number 5.
In Class A, Hamilton remains number 1 after earning 8 of 13 first-place votes, while Miles City, the only undefeated team in Class A, is at number 2. Frenchtown is at 3 ahead of Dillon, and Laurel rounds out the top 5.
And in Class B, Florence jumped into the top 5 for the first time this season. The Falcons defeated Missoula Loyola for the first time in a long time to rake in the poll. Fairfield, number 1 in Class B once again.
And finally, tonight, Game 2 of the World Series. The Houston Astros, down 1-0, host the Washington Nationals. 6:08 first pitch, ESPN Radio.
This ESPN Sports Center is presented by Clark Fork Law.
Welcome back. Hour number 2, Tootell Nuanez, 102.9 ESPN Radio. That's WX Montana Television. Happy to be with all of you on a Wednesday afternoon. Broadcasting live from the Kurtz Polaris studios. Kurtz Polaris at 2904 West Broadway in Missoula, Highway 83 in Sealy, online at kurtzpolaris.com. You can also find us on the World Wide Web, 1029ESPN.com. You can listen live on the Listen Live tab. It's called a stream. It's there thanks to Opportunity Bank. Your local bank, your opportunity. 329-1899 is the phone number. All guests join us via the Raggage Brothers RV phone line. Well, I'll remind you here in about 10 minutes, we're going to have our ESPN Roundtable. Gage Smith and Alex Mustard, 2 Montana natives, 2 Montana athletes in Lake Placid, New York, pursuing dreams of being Olympians with the United States men's bobsled team. So we will have them for our ESPN Roundtable coming up here in 10 minutes or so. But first, it's time for a Wing It Wednesday. We go to the phones and we welcome in Cal to the show. Cal, how are you?
Pretty good. How about yourself?
Doing great, Cal. Appreciate it very much. Now, here's the deal, my friend. We got 3 questions for you. If you get 2 of the 3, you got yourself a basket of wings from the Desperado Sports Tavern, the best wings in the city of Missoula. If you get all 3, you got yourself a shirt as well. If you need help on any one of these, Coulter is your lifeline, all right?
All right.
Boy, some chicken wings would really hit the spot.
Tell me likey. Tell me what wingy.
All right, Cal, here we go. 3 questions, 1 from each of the 3 major sports, all of them, breaking news, up to the hour type of stuff, okay? You ready for that?
Uh-huh.
Okay, Cal, here we go. Question number 1. The NFL trade deadline is less than a week away, but several trades have already taken place. Name 1 NFL trade that has taken place. You don't have to give me the draft picks. Just one name that's switching teams, going to play for somebody else.
Emmanuel Sanders.
Yes. Where is he going? Do you remember where he's headed?
I believe it's from the Broncos to the 49ers.
Cal! All over it. Very well done. Question number 1, Cal Davis. Got it. Is that real?
It is, actually. The guy who answered the phone, he's like, you pranking me, man? We just talked about Cal Davis. I'm like, oh, no, sorry, man.
Remarkable that we had Jake Mayer from University of California Davis on, and now we have Cal Davis on to talk to us about wings.
There's a lot of UC Davis alumni that get real mad when you call it Cal Davis.
Well, that's my name, so I mean.
I know. I was just telling Ryan. It's a constant lesson in futility around here.
I don't know why you referred to him as it. I wasn't kind. Okay. Cal, here we go. Question number 2. You still got a lifeline.
Hold on. It's breaking up for a second there. Say it again.
Okay. There's question number 2 for you. You still got a lifeline if you need it, okay?
Okay.
The World Series is happening. You may be aware of the World Series. It's the culmination of the Major League Baseball season. Game 1 was last night. Who was playing, who won, and what was the score?
I believe it was the Washington Nationals playing the Houston Astros, and it ended 5-4.
In favor of?
The Nationals.
Cal Davis, look at you. Elbow deep in wings, and you didn't even use a lifeline. That's impressive work. Very well done.
That's the plan.
Very well done. Cal, you got yourself wings to the Desperado Sports Tavern. Let's see if you can go 3 for 3. See if you can go 3 for 3. There were 2 games to open the NBA season last night. 2 of them. Name the 2 winners of the 2 NBA games last night.
Clippers and the Raptors.
Colton, do you feel like just alone and lonely over there, sitting there, no need for you. He didn't even think about asking for a lifeline.
His money. Hoping, Jeff.
Money, exactly. Cal, that's how you do it right there, my friend. Very well done. Give your information to David there in the back, and you, my friend, are getting wings and a shirt from the Desperado. You nailed it 3 for 3.
Hey, thank you very much, guys.
You got it. Thank you. That's how you do it right there. No hemming and hawing. Just answering questions right out of the gate. It's pretty great. Boys and girls, we're giving away a keg and a kegerator. We're registering here every day for the next couple of weeks with a word of the day, and we're going to do it right now. 200-8184 is the phone number. 406 is the area code. 200-8184. You text the word of the day to 200-8184. You can enter every single day. You're winning a kegerator from Fred's Appliance and a keg from Great Burn Brewing. And it's a great package. We love giving this thing away. It's been a little while since we've done it, a couple of years, but we're back with the keg and the kegerator giveaway. The word of the day today, NBA. The NBA has begun. Okay, it's 3 letters. So, what do they call it, Coulter, when it's short for something?
Acronym?
Yeah, that's it. Thanks for saving me, the journalist over here. It's an acronym, but it's what we're doing, okay? Making it simple. It was 2 words yesterday. It's not even a word today. That's how we do the word of the day. NBA, the word of the day, to 200-8184, 200-8184. Text it in right now, and you will be registered for a keg from the Great Burn Brewing and a kegerator from Fred's Appliance. It is just that great. Quick break, come back. Gage Smith, Alex Mustard, they're trying to become Olympians in the bobsled. They are the subject of our ESPN Roundtable next.
Garden City Paint and Glass in Missoula is like your paint doctor. They take the pain out of painting. Don't trust your home to anything less than professional PPG paints from Garden City Paint and Glass. Go to visualizecolors.com. Scan in your room photo to see what color combinations will look best before painting. That's visualizecolors.com. Featuring professional PPG paints. Garden City Paint and Glass in Missoula, across from the Southside McDonald's at 3217 Brooks.
Alpine Touch has been part of the fabric of Montana for more than 60 years. Decades ago, Russell Street started selling his touch of magic in whitefish. Years later, Alpine Touch's all-purpose seasoning remains a favorite. It's tailgating season, and there's no better way to spice up your grill before a Grizz game than with Alpine Touch. Go to alpinetouch.com now and use the checkout code ESPN10 for a 10% discount on your order. Alpine Touch is here to keep your mouth watering all football season. Alpine Touch, Montana's special spice.
This is Mike Nugent with Berkshire Hathaway Home Services. Berkshire Hathaway provides Western Montana with full-time real estate professionals for you whenever you need us. Our reputation as the state's most knowledgeable and available real estate group has helped build unmatched trust in the Garden City and statewide. If you have been thinking of making a real estate move in the short or long term, give me a call. No pressure, no expectations. Just professional opinions and service at whatever pace you are comfortable with. Give me, Mike Nugent, a call today, 531-1802. And remember, every question is good to ask.
Have you been hurt or disabled? Are you missing time from work and not sure what to do? I'm attorney Chris Helmer, and Clark Fork Law Offices in Missoula is here to help. Our team specializes in worker compensation, personal injury, and Social Security disability. We fight for the benefits you deserve. Call Clark Fork Law at 728-0168 for a free consultation or visit clarkforklaw.com. Again, 728-0168.
It's time for the second annual Flippin' Fun Glow Run, a fundraiser for the Ravalli County Gymnastics Booster Club. Don your neon and lace up those running shoes for a glowing 5K and Kids Mile Fun Run at the Corvallis High School on Friday, November 1st. The run starts at dusk and the course is lit with glow sticks. Competitors are given glow sticks to wear. There'll be prizes to win, and all proceeds support gymnasts' competition fees. Sign up at eventbrite.com before or on October 23rd to get an event t-shirt.
Are you interested in putting solar panels on your roof? Do you want the latest on Montana's renewable energy policies? The Montana Renewable Energy Association is a leading voice for renewable energy education and advocacy in Montana. From community-based clean energy events to advocating at the Montana legislature, they work to ensure Montana's future is powered by the sun, wind, and earth. Find out more about MREA and join as a member by visiting montanarenewables.org or calling 406-214-9405.
ESPN Missoula Sports Center.
Good afternoon. Ryan Tootell, Colts and Nuanez. Here's some sports news for you. On Tuesday, playoff games from across the state took place to determine the 8-team field for the Class AA state boys and girls soccer tournaments. In girls action, Missoula Hellgate beat Helena Capital 5-0, while Missoula Sentinel defeated Missoula Big Sky 3-1 to advance. In boys action, reigning champion Hellgate blasted Butte 8-0, while Helena Capital took apart Big Sky 9-1. Helena High outlasted Sentinel 3-2 to advance.
In the most recent Treasure State media poll conducted by KGEZ and Kalispell, Butte remains number 1 in Class AA after receiving 12 of 18 first-place votes. The 8-0 Bulldogs are one spot ahead of defending state champion Billings West, who got the other 6 first-place votes.
ESPN Missoula Sports Center.
Well, sure, start it over, but don't start it over. Just keep it going.
Bunch of soccer. Hellgate's in, Sentinel's in, and the girls' side. Hellgate's in on the boys' side. Big Sky and Sentinel are out. In football, Butte's rolling, Billings West is rolling. Sentinel's number 3, Bozeman number 4, Kalispell number 5 on the recent Treasure State media poll. Class A, Hamilton remains number 1 after earning 8 of 13 first-place votes. Miles City, the only other undefeated team in Class A, is number 2 after earning 4 first-place votes. And Frenchtown, number 3 in this week's Class A poll, 4 points ahead of Dillon, who received the final first-place nod. Laurel, number 5.
Excellent recap. Thank you, Coulter. In Class B, Florence jumped to the top 5 for the first time this season. The Falcons defeated Missoula Loyola for the first time in 17 seasons to break into the poll. Fairfield is number 1 once again in Class B. Tonight, Game 2 of the World Series. The Houston Astros hosting the Washington Nationals. The Astros lost 5-4 yesterday to the Nationals, so the Nats have a 1-0 lead. It will be Steven Strasburg and Justin Verlander taking the hill tonight for the 2 clubs respectively in the final home game for the Astros before the series shifts back to the nation's capital for Game 3. With some future Olympic hopefuls? I think so. It's Tootell and Nuanez, 102.9 ESPN Radio, SWX Montana Television. We're broadcasting live from the Kurtz Polaris studios. Kurtz Polaris at 2904 West Broadway in Missoula, Highway 83 in Sealy, online at kurtzpolaris.com. And every week, every Wednesday at this time, we do our ESPN Roundtable. It is presented by Paradise Falls. Paradise Falls is Missoula's coolest hot spot, and we're happy to have Gage Smith and Alex Mustard, who are 2 former athletes in the state of Montana, 2 former University of Montana athletes, specifically track and football, respectively, who are now pursuing dreams of being bobsledders and are in Lake Placid, New York. So very cool. It's our ESPN Roundtable, again, presented by Paradise Falls. Well, happy now to welcome into the ESPN Roundtable 2 native Montanans and 2 guys who have Olympic aspirations in the bobsled, Alex Mustard of Missoula and Gage Smith from up in Whitefish. Guys, thanks so much for being with it. We appreciate it. How are you doing?
We're doing good. We just got done with the workout, so, yeah, just kind of taking it day by day right now.
Well,
thank you very much for doing this.
Yeah, well, we thank you guys. We appreciate having you on. It's awesome to be with you both. And Gage, let's start with you. You mentioned the workout that you guys have just gotten done. I imagine basically all day, every day, this is what it consists of. But when you're talking about a bobsled, the get off, the power, the speed, all that kind of stuff, what is it that you guys are up to from like a workout regimen standpoint? What did you just get done doing this morning?
So, I mean, the thing that's kind of great for us and why I think we translate pretty well physically to the sport is, really workout-wise, we, don't stray away from anything we've really been doing to train for athletics in the past. So, I mean, just like football and, track, it's all about being, strong, fast, explosive, powerful. So when it comes to the workouts and stuff like that, physically, I think our bodies are, right where we want them to be for where we want to be in the sport. Obviously, you're always trying to get stronger, faster, and all that, but nothing too different so far.
Alex, take us through the workout this morning. What did you guys do?
This morning we just did a lift. We'll spend a couple days a week lifting, usually 2, 3, or 4 times a week. We'll lift. We'll sprint several times a week, and then we'll also push on the push track several times a week. And it's definitely a fine balance between strength, speed, and size. So you have to make sure that you're quick enough to push the sled and at the same time powerful enough to move it. And you don't want to give up too much of one for the other.
Question for both of you guys. Let's start with Gage. So often when your athletic career ends, I mean, so few people actually get to play college sports even, and it's hard even when your high school career ends, and then when college ends, especially if you played football or track, where you're with a big group of guys, the camaraderie sort of is by the wayside, and you miss it so much. Just having this as an athletic outlet so close to when you guys finish competing, that must be awesome for you guys.
Yeah, and I think, that was something, that really, really intrigued us, especially being guys who have been a part of team sports our whole life. And, that, like, there's really, it's hard to explain unless you're an athlete, but that team feeling and, that shared joy that comes with sports is something that's so awesome. And, when your athletic career ends, especially in football, like, you have that big void in your life, not only that, like, waking up with the competitiveness and that drive every day to achieve a goal and be better, but, just as equal of a part, is being around the guys and, working hard and working for them and working together. And, if you can work with other people towards a common goal, it makes it all that much better. And, let's say in sports, they said in our locker room all the time, that shared joy is, a feeling like unlike anything else.
Alex, where are you guys at in terms of, I mean, you're trying to make a team right now. You're training to do that. Where are you at in the process of working towards your goal of becoming, full-fledged U.S. Olympians?
We're at the very preliminary stages of that process. Obviously, bobsled really only gets a lot of attention one time every 4 years, and that's at the Olympic Games. But there is so much work that goes into that process throughout the entire 4-year quadrennial, which they call the period in between each of those Olympics. And so right now, we're in the second year of that quad, and it's basically a rat race between every single athlete to be in the best position they can be when the Olympic teams are announced right before the Olympic Games, which will be right in the beginning of 2022. And so at this point, we're just trying to get as much experience as we can, trying to learn as much as we can, and taking every opportunity we can to compete, to learn more about the sport, to get to know the other athletes and the coaches, and then to really just understand what it takes to compete at that level.
So you guys are in Lake Placid, right? How many other athletes are there sort of doing the same similar training?
At any given time, for the male bobsled USA team, there are about 12 guys that are on Team USA, and there might be another 24 that are competing for spots in races around North America and Europe. And in the Olympic Training Center, there's bobsled athletes that train here. But in addition to that, this is a hosting site for skeleton, luge, biathlon. We just had some gymnastics athletes here. And so it's a really fun environment. At the same time, most athletes at this level are extremely competitive and are very specific about how they train, how they eat. And so it's been kind of eye-opening for us just to experience this whole atmosphere.
So the gymnasts were there. So any of the ones that were gold medalists last year? Because those girls are like world famous. Those girls are ridiculous.
Yeah, so the gymnastics team that was here, it was, what was it? It was like tumble track, trampoline.
Okay.
So it was more like aerial gymnastics or whatever.
Okay.
But
right, there are actually two separate gymnastics categories in the Olympics.
Right.
And so we were witnessing the tumble and trampoline athletes.
Alex Mustard and Gage Smith joining us, two native Montanans working to become Olympians on the United States bobsled team. Guys, it's so interesting to me because even in North America, in the U.S., where there's plenty of mountains and snow, especially where we're from, not a lot of people grow up bobsledding as such. It's like it's something that you kind of, like you guys did, move into, but it's also to the outsider, right, seems so obscure, right? Like all of a sudden, okay, you've been playing football, you've been running track, and now you're like, hey, let's get on the bobsled. How did that happen? Like, how did you get from, okay, we're still athletes, we still want to do something, hey, U.S. bobsled, that's what we want?
So I'd say, the talk started with Alex and I about a year ago, And it started just like anybody else would think about it, I guess. We were talking about, how do you get into this sport? Like, what does it take and all that? And so Alex and I started doing like a little bit of research and figured out they recruit. And most of the people here, almost all of us, are former track or football players. And so we figured, we fit the mold pretty well. We're bigger, faster, we're athletes. And the talks between Alex and I just kept moving forward, and we got in touch with the coach, but we were still in school, so we couldn't really pursue anything yet, especially with Alex finishing track in the spring. And so we just kind of kept the ball moving forward. We kept in touch with Coach Dion, who's like the head recruiting guy here. And Alex can tell you a little bit more about his route to get here. But for me, mine was a little simpler. I just got a direct invite to the rookie camp. And then, we did well enough at rookie camp where there was about 13 of us, and I think there's like 5 of us back here now. And then, so they have what's called National Push Championships. And so if you do well at rookie camp, they'll invite you back to National Push Champs, and that's with the big dogs, the Olympic guys, the World Cup guys, and girls. And so I actually couldn't afford to come back for Push Champs so quick because, they have exit meetings with us, and then it's like, oh, can you come back across the country in 2 weeks? I took a look at my bank account and said, well, no, I can't. And so Alex ended up going back for National Push Champs, but then I stayed in touch with Coach, and, we talked about a little bit different plan, and now I'm here for 6 weeks, and, we're learning the details, the ins and outs, everything it takes to be a bobsledder. And like I said, we're taking it day by day and learning, and I'll let Alex explain a little bit more about his route.
Yeah, Alex, what was different for you? How did you get into it?
So I found out that a lot of bobsled athletes were actually former track athletes. I'd say that's probably the number one sport that developed into bobsled athletes. And Gage and I are actually young in terms of bobsled athletes. Most athletes are in their late 20s or even early 30s. And I knew that I was able to garner success at the University of Montana as a sprinter at the Division I level, but I knew that I wasn't quite competitive enough to compete after college as a sprinter. So I was kind of exploring every route I could find just to figure out if there was any opportunity for me just to continue being an athlete. And it sounded like bobsled would be my best bet. So I actually had gotten in touch with the coaching staff, and one of the coaches recommended that I apply for an event in Colorado Springs, which happened in June. And at that event, it's called the Next Olympic Hopeful, and it's a general tryout. There are multiple sports there that are recruiting a pool of athletes, and from there, I actually was asked to come to the rookie camp in August, and then I was able to come back for national team. I was able to come back to Lake Placid in September for National Push Championships, and then this is actually my third trip to Lake Placid now, and we're just here training for a few weeks until about Thanksgiving time.
Now, Gage, I don't want to, bury the lead on this thing, but you are dating an Olympian. And so
yes.
I'm wondering, so Maggie Voisin, your girlfriend's two-time Olympian, competed once. She was injured in the first one, the youngest Olympian there at Sochi, took 4th in Korea. But how much, I got to believe that there is some connections that are there to be made, especially in the Winter Olympics, when you got an Olympian right there on your arm.
Yeah, I think what's been especially helpful, because Olympic sports, are kind of more an obscure thing. It's not the NFL, it's not the NBA. You don't sign a big contract. Like even Alex and I right now are like, the only reason this is possible for us is because we've been receiving donations and, we can't be working. And so she's been very insightful just in terms of competing, like what it's like on that like Olympic type stage, the world sports stage more like. So she's kind of familiar with like the things we do, and she actually met a few of the bobsledders at this past Olympics, and so she's just very helpful, and she's just a great person to talk to in general because she's seen so much success in her career as well as a lot of adversity, and to have somebody close to you who's been through the ups and downs of sports and knows what it's about to be successful and battle through injuries and things like that. So So she's very helpful.
Yeah, well, I'm sure she is in terms of that. But you mentioned the financial aspect of this, and I think that's a compelling part too, because you guys are both young guys, just got out of college, and I mean it's hard to make it this day and age. And so, what gave you the courage to want to go out on your own and tell people a little bit more too about how they can help you? Because I know you guys do have a GoFundMe page and stuff like that. So, how do you have the courage to kind of go out and take this risk? And also, what does it take just to get by?
So I think for Alex and I, it's been really big having each other through this whole thing. Someone to talk about, hey, weighing the risks versus the risk rewards of all this. And, I think we just came to the conclusion that we're young and life's short and we miss being competitive in sport. And obviously the financial thing was a big discussion. I mean, after going to rookie camp for me this summer, especially just graduating college, I didn't exactly have much income or anything like that in the bank account. So I kind of drained the bank account going to rookie camp, and then I came back and they asked me to come back in a couple of weeks, which obviously I couldn't afford. And so for me, I was kind of tossing the idea around. I'm like, man, is this worth it? Like, I was working a minimum wage job because I couldn't, take on any serious job if we were going to try and pursue this. But, especially talking with my girlfriend and people close to me, everybody was like, look, you may never get a chance like this again. I think you got to go for it. And through this whole fundraising process and stuff, there's been people who have been extremely helpful. Not just the people who've donated, but the people who have helped me figure out what to expect financially in this sport. How to do things the right way, how to go about fundraising and asking for what we believe is the correct amount of money. So there's a lot of people to thank so far going forward in this that have been very helpful. And the financial thing, as it sounds like, doesn't get much less stressful as you age in this sport, because every year you're looking to maybe get some sponsorship deals, any way to get some income. So it's definitely tricky, but we're young and I never had any money in college anyway, so it's not too different for me.
Right.
It's extremely humbling to have to announce publicly that you're in need of support, but the reality is that we would really have no other opportunity to pursue these dreams without the help of so many people. And we're really fortunate for the support we've received so far, both financially and just words of encouragement. And it really means a lot to each of us.
Alex Mustard from Missoula, Gage Smith from Whitefish, both former University of Montana athletes and currently in pursuit of Olympic dreams on the U.S. bobsled team, joining us on the ESPN Roundtable. And Alex, I'd like to know more specifically about what it's like to be at Lake Placid in terms of, where you stay, you guys roommates, whatever. What's the food situation? That's always important to me. I want to know what the spread's like.
It's the only thing he ever wants to know.
I don't
when
care
I covered
about.
The Grizz in Oregon, all he wanted to know, what are you eating in the press box? Not what's off the stadium like, what are the Ducks wearing? Nope, what is for dinner
Right.
in the press box?
I don't care about your workouts. I care about your buffet, man. But just kind of the life. We know that you're there just working out constantly, trying to do this thing. But what's it like, kind of day in and day out, there at an Olympic facility? That's pretty cool.
Right. So Lake Placid is in the middle of the Adirondacks, which is a mountain range in upstate New York. It's a small mountain town. There's about 3,000 people that live here, and Lake Placid actually hosted the Winter Olympics in 1932 and again in 1980. And so most of what's here are remnants of those two Olympic Games. And we are staying at the Olympic Training Center. It's a large building. There's probably 80 rooms, and every single person that stays here will be assigned a roommate, almost similar to what a hotel room would be like. And then there's a cafeteria. The cafeteria is open usually from 7 a.m. to about 9 p.m., and there's food in there pretty much anytime we need it, which we're extremely grateful for, to be able to go eat as much as we want to, whenever we want to. And there's a weight room connected to the building. There's large basketball gyms that are used for wrestling and gymnastics. They can set up their equipment in there. But on top of that, most of our time is dedicated to training, which includes lifting and sprinting. We watch a lot of film. Gage and I recently started driving last week, so we watched film of us driving. We watched film of ourselves pushing, making sure that we're learning how to push the sleds properly. And then we take rides down the track, and a lot of the work we do as well includes maintaining the sleds. We, as athletes, are essentially the mechanics for each of the sleds. Bobsleds are not cheap, and they're hard to come by, so we have to make sure that we're taking really good care of those sleds and that we're preparing them, to help us race fast each day.
We really buried the lead. Now, 20 minutes into this thing, we haven't even asked you, what's it like being on the actual sled?
Right.
So we weren't really prepared for this. Not at all. But due to circumstances at the track, the only way we're able to be on ice right now is if we're the ones driving. Gage and I have started driving monobobs, which are single-person sleds. They were just recently introduced as a new Olympic event for women. So women now have monobob as an official event, but they put us in the monobobs to learn how to drive. So we've been taking rides down the track at Lake Placid. Every time before we drive, we have to walk the track to try to memorize the curves and just to be aware of the ice conditions for that day. We start from a lower start. So right now, we're only driving the lower half of the track, and eventually we'll start to move up and move up and move up until we're driving the full track.
We move up today. So.
Now, this is such an odd thing because I've always thought this about all of these ice shoot sports that are out there. There is no easy track. Like, you can't just go out like you can on a basketball floor and just miss shots. Like, you're just shooting down this thing as fast as the gravity and the ice will take you. How do you deal with the fact that there's, like, you're in this thing and now you got to figure out how to survive?
There's not a lot of room for error.
Right.
So that's why we start. That's why we do start lower on the track, and you naturally become pretty zoned in when you're forced to drive the track. It's essentially your only option is to get the sled down the track. So you get a lot of adrenaline going, and you're pretty zoned in. The speeds we're moving at now aren't too high. We've been hitting max speeds of about 50 miles per hour. From the top of the track, sleds will be going closer to 85 or 90 miles per hour. And at that point, you're making decisions very quickly and having to move that sled around in a very short amount of time.
Do you guys?
Yeah. So,
go ahead.
I was going to say, day one, I didn't make a decision quite quickly enough. So I'm the only one of the rookies to flip my sled so far. So, day one, that was quite the experience. But yeah, I mean, once they push you off that thing, there's no turning back. You either get yourself down or you don't. So
no.
But I mean, it's fun. They push you off, and you're like, well, I got to do this. So you got to be extremely locked in for 50 seconds, or you end up on your head like I did my second ever run.
Now, all of this I understand is training and building. You're just trying to break in, but do you have an idea or a placement of what you might be interested in or where they might place you when it comes to 2-man, 4-man, driving, brakeman, in the middle, like that kind of stuff, where you would be slotted?
So right now, I mean, it's more just about getting us on the ice, getting us that experience, what it's like to be on the track. From what my understanding is, rookies tend to do a little more 2-man than 4-man their first year. But another one of our closer friends here, we've been doing, Alex, his name's Boone, and myself have been doing 3-man hits on the practice sled. And from my understanding, there's potential there that we might be doing some 4-man stuff this season together, which would be really cool. But it's one of those things, you take opportunities as they come, and they're going to mix and match us kind of all over the place, especially being rookies, finding out where we work best, push best. And so the biggest thing for us right now is just kind of be prepared for anything and expect the unexpected, I guess.
Sprinter, so you're in the blocks frequently. Gage, a lot of your time at the University of Montana playing football, you were covering kickoffs and punts and things like that. Compare and contrast those two things. Start with Gage. Running down on a kickoff, running down on a punt, you might get smoked. You might smoke somebody. You never know. What's that like compared to pushing the sled?
Well, I guess bobsled's really not too far off that. You go down the track and you're like, well, this might be good or I might get smoked. But I guess there's similarities. There's so much emphasis in why they want the biggest, strongest, most powerful people they can. Is it's a lot like running down on kickoff. You get really hyped up. You run as hard as you can. You're locked in, mentally, and there's a good chance you could get hammered. Or, but I think it's exciting. You get to get really excited and put everything you can into that, 5-6 seconds on your push. And then after that, you're kind of riding down, taking a beating, and I guess similar to football in that way. But it's exciting to, get really fired up, especially with a few other guys to keep you motivated and get excited.
And Alex, a lot of athletes say that being in the blocks right before the 100 meters is maybe the most nerve-wracking and adrenaline-pumping thing you can do in sports. But those people probably haven't ridden a bobsled, so we'll compare and contrast the two.
I'm actually really grateful for that because throughout my career, I was able to develop a lot of calmness prior to my races, and I was able to be in a peaceful place when I started to sprint, even in big races. And so that's translated pretty well for me because you can kind of slow things down in your mind. A lot of things are moving in a short amount of time as a sprinter and also as a bobsledder. So I think that mental aspect definitely translates really well.
Well, guys, this has been awesome. Tell people out there, again, we know that you're out there. You got 2.5 years, man, until the actual Olympics come around as you pursue this thing. How can people help you out? Where can they go to track your progress and how things are going?
So what Alex and I have been trying to do is, so Alex actually never had, Instagram. He's never a big social media thing like that.
That's my guy right there. I like that.
Right.
Yeah, I'm with that.
I just developed new social media accounts just so I can kind of share with people who are interested in my journey and keeping track of where I'm at, or that are interested in supporting me, just so that they have an idea of how I'm spending my time day to day, as well as just everything that goes into the sport, just so that I'm able to better portray how I'm spending my time.
And so what are the handles on those?
All of my handles are Alex J Mustard. Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, GoFundMe is Alex J Mustard.
Great.
And so I appreciate follows, shares, any financial support it goes beyond words how much it means to us.
And then Gage, for you, do you have your social meds up too?
Yeah, so I've always been more the social media guy, I guess. I was always the guy who videoed us doing funny stuff, like I said, we've been trying to post a lot because, especially, there's some people who have sent us, some pretty big donations, and on top of all the thank yous and stuff, we want to keep people as up to date as what we're doing. We don't want people sending us money and then being like, okay, I wonder how those guys are doing, or if they're alive. So we try and post a lot of stuff, and I'm always posting stuff on my Twitter and my Instagram. My Instagram is Gage H. Smith, and then my Twitter handle is GHSmith51. So always trying to, post cool things, and it makes us excited seeing videos of us doing stuff and the positive feedback we get and the support. It's all really awesome, and it motivates us to, push ourselves harder and try and find success in this new sport.
And the GoFundMe page you guys have set up, that can be found at all those places as well, right?
Right, yeah. I have my GoFundMes linked in my social media bios. I think it's my pinned tweet on Twitter. And it's one of those things, we want as much exposure to those pages as possible, but, we also want to be humble and grateful throughout the whole process because, like we said, without these donations, we couldn't be here doing this, so.
Alex Mustard from here in Missoula, Gage Smith from Whitefish, joining us on the ESPN Roundtable as they pursue their Olympic dreams in bobsled. Guys, thanks so much for taking the time out. Really appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks, guys. This was fun. Thanks for taking the time to talk to us. We had a good time.
Well, we had a good time. I'll tell you that, to talk to those two guys, Gage Smith, Alex Mustard. And, Colton, we talked about this, after we had spoken with those two guys and said, a lot of people after they graduate college are trying to figure it out. Some jump right into a job, into a career. Some take time and just, go maybe travel, do something like that. And, it's a world of opportunity, things to do, at some point in your life and all fun, when you're young and so forth. But there's almost nobody who could pursue the idea of going on to the United States Olympic team in any sport, to say nothing of bobsled, and the fact that those two guys are tremendous athletes, sprinters, football player, etc., that, you know, they're getting this sort of experience, which a lot of kids get something, go some direction, but to do it in this respect, where there's 0.001% of people that could go do that or something, is awesome. And the fact they're out there pursuing it is great. And yeah, you know, you got no money, but you're there, you're in Lake Placid, you're getting taken care of, you're getting fed, and it's a very cool thing. And I'm excited to track those two guys and see how it works out for them. And again, you know, go follow them on Instagram, and if you feel so inclined, throw them a shekel or two to help out with the cause, because it's a long road, 2.5 years, you know, till the next Winter Olympic Games.
And these guys, they have transitional athleticism that transitions to that sport really well. Gage Smith, people probably don't remember him that much just because he was a special teams guy. Before then, he ended up having to retire early. He had some concussion issues, but he was a state champion in both football and track at Whitefish High School, and he was a guy that was a sprinter and a thrower. I think he actually even was a conference champion, maybe even a state champion in the shot put, but also a guy that contributed on the relay teams and was a placer in a lot of the sprints. So that's a great combo to have. You know, 6'3", 220, who can also run, but you're strong as well. Great combo. And anybody that's ever seen Alex Mustard, he's one of the biggest physical specimens that have come through the University of Montana the last couple of years. I mean, he looks the part of a big, strong, fast Olympic-style sprinter, and he's one of the better sprinters to come out of Missoula in the last decade plus, and he transitions even better because he's just so big.
Right.
So I think it's a sweet deal that these guys are chasing it, and like you said, if you got it in your heart to want to help some local athletes out, I think that'd be sweet if these guys were to somehow, some way make that team.
Yeah, that'd be awesome. It's our ESPN Roundtable every Wednesday. We'll have that for you again at noon tomorrow. It is presented by Paradise Falls, Culture Paradise Falls, 3621 Brook Street over there on the south end of town near the intersection of Brooks and Reserve. Great spot to go sit. In fact, we were there last night, enjoying it, watching Game 1 of the World Series. Great spot to sit down, have a late happy hour, enjoy some good food, and a great all the TVs, rooms available for you.
If it wasn't for the Grizz basketball scrimmage, I would have stayed for the whole World Series last night and hit that late happy hour. But nonetheless, we had our Osprey appreciation fans. I guess the Osprey had their fan appreciation party there last night, so I stopped by for a little bit, watched the first 4 innings of the World Series, and it's great. Paradise Falls, one of the only places in all Missoula you can be able to find breakfast, lunch, and dinner, early happy hour, late happy hour. If you're into sports, they got you covered. 30 big screen TVs, 18 draft beers, full bar. And that late happy hour is great, 9 to 11, Monday through Thursday. And you got half-price cocktails, $3 beers, half-price apps. Not going to find a better deal in town. So go check them out, 3621 Brook Street in Missoula, Paradise Falls, Missoula's coolest hotspot.
We register you for Grizz Eastern Washington tickets and talk about the Maroon Silver Scrimmage basketball next.
Hi there, it's Les Schwab Tires. You know, we've been helping keep folks safe on the road around here since 1952. That's why you can save up to $152 on a set of 4 select light truck and SUV tires during our fall tire sale. So swing by or book an appointment at leschwab.com. Les Schwab Tires, doing the right thing since 1952. Limited time offer while supplies last. Discount depends on tire size and type. Cannot be combined with other offers. Details at leschwab.com.
On Russell, across from the fairgrounds.
In Western Montana, we know shopping local matters, and you may think you'd pay more for the quality and customer service that comes with it, but not at Selway Armory. Selway Armory is locally owned with knowledgeable specialists that can answer your questions. In addition to the expertise, though, Selway Armory also has a bigger selection and lower prices than the box stores. When you're in the market for firearms and accessories, save money with the experts at Selway Armory. Selway Armory, 2825 Stockyard Road, Unit E6, and online at selwayarmory.com.
There's only one way to really enjoy fall sports, and that's on a full stomach. So whether you're watching the NCAA, MLB, NHL, NFL, NBA, whatever the letters, the Desperado has an A-plus menu to fill your belly while you're cheering on your team. Head to the Desperado for a juicy bacon burger, a steaming plate of cheesy nachos, ice-cold beer, and hands down, the best hot wings in town. If it's a steak you're looking for, well, they've got that too. Whether the game ends in a win or a loss, get your winner Despo dinner at the Desperado Sports Tavern on South Russell, across from the Y.
Do you know what's at stake after a car accident? Not only will you have to deal with pushy insurance companies, auto repair shops, endless doctor's appointments, and dozens of unforeseen problems, but also your normal day-to-day life. I'm Coulter here with Catherine from the Advocates Injury Attorneys, and she knows how hard this can be.
That's right. And with all of that, it can seem tempting to take the quick settlement that the insurance company is offering. But I can tell you from experience that it is not going to be a fair amount. I see it all the time where someone has settled with the insurance company and months later realizes that they still have pain from the accident, and now they're having to pay those bills out of their pocket. I don't want that to happen to anyone.
So what should our listeners do, Catherine?
Give us a call and discuss your situation with an attorney. The call is free and we'll gladly talk about your situation with you. If you have a case that we can help with, you will owe us nothing out of pocket. We actually make the insurance company pay for us to help you.
There you have it. Call the Advocates at 406-640-4444 or go online, montanaadvocates.com. You deserve the Advocates on your side.
Tell Us Something is calling for you to pitch your true story on the theme of Tipping Point. 8 storytellers will be selected to share their true personal story from memory on the theme of Tipping Point. And each storyteller is paid a stipend for sharing their story. The live event is happening December 10th with a pitch deadline November 18th. Call 406-203-4683 to pitch your story. Members from our deaf community are welcome to pitch a story online at tellussomething.org/tellastory.
If it matters to Missoula, it matters to us. Ryan Tootell and Coulter Nuanez on 102.9 ESPN Radio.
You want Grizz tickets? We got them for you. You want basketball information? We got it for you. It's Tootell and Nuanez, 102.9 ESPN Radio, SWX Montana Television. Good to be with you on a Wednesday afternoon as we wrap things up. Wednesday evening, really, at this point. The morning show guys, they can't wait for what do they call it? Time savings, daylight savings time. The afternoon folks, well, you can't stand it. Hate the winter version of daylight savings. It is Tootell and Nuanez. We're broadcasting live from the Kurtz Polaris Studios. Kurtz Polaris at 2904 West Broadway in Missoula, Highway 83 in Sealy. I can't wait to listen back to the laugh that you gave me, which was just such a courtesy laugh. There's no heart behind it. It wasn't a funny joke. I admit to you, I didn't do my part to elicit something substantial, but hearing it in my headphones, I'm just reminded of how hollow it was.
Do you hate when people talk about the weather? I hate when people talk about time.
I'm not.
What time do you get off? What time do you get up? Everybody thinks everybody works 9 to 5. It's just not the case.
It's just not about time, though. It's just about, because you know this as well as I do, it's going to be pitch black when we walk out of here 2 weeks from now or whenever it happens.
Yeah, it's a huge internal conflict for me.
We are, if you missed anything in the show, you can listen on the podcast. It's available everywhere. Wherever you get your podcast, you can listen to the Tootell and Nuanez podcast and the FCS Speculators podcast, episode 5. Going to be out tonight, people. FCS Speculators, everything you need to know about the books, the lines, the numbers, especially in the Big Sky Conference, but at the FCS at large. Great series that we've been doing. We're really happy to have it and bring it to you. Tootell and Nuanez podcast, by the way, brought to you by the Wingate by Wyndham Hotel. Okay, your last chance to register. You want tickets to the Eastern Washington Montana Grizzly football game? Call right now, 329-1899. The first 3 of you in, 329-1899. You are going to be registered for tickets. We'll be giving those tickets away tomorrow on the show, 329-1899. First 3 in right now. Registered to join the first 6, which were registered over the last couple of days. And we will pick a winner and get that person tomorrow. Coulter, you went to the Maroon Silver scrimmage yesterday. We talked with Travis DeCure today for a while about a couple of things and his team as well. But when you go out, you get your first look at the new iteration, especially on the men's side with all the guys that graduated from that team. What was your impression yesterday watching this men's Grizzly basketball team in their first sort of public forum?
Well, a lot of different things, because this is the most new the Grizz have been in a couple of years now. They had so many familiar faces, usual suspects the last couple of years. And the last couple of years, the Maroon Silver scrimmage has been about the guy who sat out last year who's now eligible to play, whether that guy was Jamar Coe or Ahmad Rory or Donovan Dorsey or Kendall Manuel, who actually didn't end up having to sit out, but he was kind of the guy that was supposed to be that guy last year, then ended up getting his waiver. And that was actually part of the narrative this time, too. Nassim Gaskin, who's the transfer from Utah, he's in a Kendall Manuel situation. They're trying to get his waiver pushed through. He could hear right before the season that he could play. We'll see. But he's a talented player. He's very explosive. He shoots it better than I thought he was going to. The other guy, Michael Stedman, who's a transfer from San Jose State, he's a very athletic, way more athletic than I thought he was going to be, and way better touch than I thought he was going to have. He made 2 different 15 to 17-foot jump shots, which I just didn't expect that out of a true 6'10 guy.
Yeah.
But he's got a good little pick and pop. He moves better than I thought he was going to. And he's a great athlete to go with, having real deal size. Him and Mac Anderson this year is going to be an interesting battle in practice because Stedman's for sure sitting out, and therefore Mac Anderson's for sure going to have to fill an elevated role. Anderson looks a lot more coordinated and fluid, and he's going to get tested by Stedman in practice every day. And then the other thing is the freshman. Well, first of all, Saeed Pridgett is going to be the go-to guy. Everybody expected that, but he looks very eager and willing to relish that role. And the freshman, particularly Josh Vasquez, very impressive. I think DJ Carter-Hollinger will probably sit out, but Kyle Owens is the guy that's going to push for a starting spot. He's that athletic and that physically ready.
You know, get into football season and you're sort of in it, but man, love when basketball season rolls around. We're getting there. It's coming up. Boys and girls, enjoy Game 2 of the World Series. We send you off to Houston for the first pitch, 6:08. Verlander on the hill against Strasburg. Enjoy it. See you tomorrow.
We combine quality ingredients with home-style recipes to create the Montana Club's fall comfort food menu. Savor our tender boneless beef short rib or caramelized brandy apple pork shank. Dig into our classic savory chicken pot pie or fall for our zesty skillet lasagna. Top things off with our creamy pumpkin skillet a la mode. Scratch-made comfort food that's as real as it gets. Served 11:30 to close at the Montana Club on Brooks and North Reserve, Missoula.
No matter how far you may go, there's always one just down the road. Town Pump, ooh, pump it up.
Buy one, get one free at your local Town Pump. Your Bay sparkling water, buy one, get one free. Plus, high brew 11-ounce coffee, buy one, get one free. Grab a friend and head to Town Pump. There's one right down the road.
Town Pump, right down the road. Pump it up, oh yeah.
Have you been in an accident and have no idea what to do? I'm here with Catherine from the Advocates Injury Attorneys.
Unfortunately, people are injured in accidents every day, and dealing with the insurance company can add even more pain to an already bad situation. That is where hiring the advocates can help. Let us guide you through the process and take on the hassles for you so you can just focus on getting better.
If you've been injured in an accident,